Welcome to Colorado Charter School Institute's Food Safety Training video. This video will go over important concepts in keeping kids and the food they eat safe. Please pay attention to this video as there will be a quiz at the end. All participants in the quiz will have a chance to win a $25 Amazon gift card. May the most knowledgeable person in food safety win. Let's get started covering the most important topics in food safety. Hand washing is the most important part of personal hygiene. It may seem basic and routine. However, many food handlers fail to wash their hands correctly and as often as needed. Hands must be washed in a sink designated for hand washing. You should never wash your hands in sinks designated for food prep, dishwashing or sinks used for discarding wastewater. The whole process should take at least 20 seconds. First, wet hands and arms. Use running warm water. Second, apply soap. Make sure there is enough soap to build up a good lather. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Third, scrub hands and arms vigorously for 10 to 15 seconds. Clean the fingertips, under fingernails, and between fingers. Fourth, use running warm water to rinse hands and arms thoroughly. Next, dry hands and arms. You can use a single-use paper towel or a hand dryer. Use a paper towel to turn off the faucet and to open the door when leaving the restroom. Food handlers must wash their hands after the following activities: using the restroom, touching the body or clothing, before preparing food, before putting on single-use gloves, coughing, sneezing, blowing their nose, or using a handkerchief or tissue, eating, drinking, smoking, or chewing gum or tobacco, handling raw meat, poultry, and seafood, handling soiled items or taking out garbage, handling service animals or aquatic animals, handling chemicals that might affect food safety, changing tasks before beginning a new task, leaving and returning to the kitchen, prep area, handling money, using electronic devices. Never use hand sanitizer in place of hand washing. There are specific requirements that need to be at all hand washing stations. Hot and cold running water. Soap. A way to dry hands. This can be disposable paper towels or a hand dryer that uses either warm air or room temperature air delivered at high velocity. Garbage containers are required if disposable paper towels are used. Sign saying that employees must wash hands before returning to work. This must be a clearly visible sign or poster that must tell staff to wash hands before returning to work. Let's talk about glove use. Many operations use single-use gloves when handling food. As the name implies, single-use gloves are designed for one task, after which they must be discarded. When gloves are used properly, they can help keep food safe by creating a barrier between hands and food. Single-use gloves should never be used in place of hand washing. Wash your hands before putting on gloves when starting a new task. You do not need to rewash your hands each time you change gloves as long as you are performing the same task and your hands have not become contaminated. Food handlers must change single-use gloves at these times. As soon as the gloves become dirty or torn. Before beginning a different task. After an interruption, such as taking a phone call. After handling raw meat, seafood, or poultry and before handling ready-to-eat food. After 4 hours of continuous use. Personal hygiene. Wear a hairnet when in a food prep area. This can keep hair from falling into food and onto food contact surfaces. Do not wear items that can become physical contaminants. This includes false eyelashes, hair accessories, jewelry, bracelets, etc. Food handlers with facial hair should also wear a beard restraint. Wear clean clothing daily. Change soiled uniforms, including aprons, as needed to prevent contamination. Store street clothing and personal belongings in designated areas such as offices or lockers. Keep dirty clothing that is stored in the operation away from food and prep areas. You can do this by placing dirty clothes in non-absorbent containers or washable laundry bags. Remove aprons when leaving prep areas. For example, aprons should be removed and stored before taking out garbage or using the restroom. Never wipe your hands on your apron. Using thermometers. Thermometers must be washed, rinsed, sanitized, and air-dried after each use. Keep storage cases clean as well. Do these things before and after using thermometers to prevent cross-contamination. Be sure the sanitizing solution you are using is for food contact surfaces. Always have plenty of clean and sanitized thermometers on hand. Thermometers can lose their accuracy. Make sure your thermometers are accurate by calibrating them regularly. Calibrate thermometers at these times, after they have been bumped or dropped. After they have been exposed to extreme temperature changes. When checking the temperature of food, insert the thermometer stem or probe into the thickest part of the food. This is usually in the center. Always make sure to take another reading in a different spot. The temperature may vary in different areas. Before recording a temperature, wait for the thermometer reading to steady. While digital thermometers are capable of displaying the temperature instantly, bimetallic stem thermometers will take more time. Allow at least 15 seconds after you insert the thermometer stem into the food. Receiving guidelines. Suppliers should deliver food when staff have enough time to inspect it. Schedule deliveries at a time when they can be received correctly. Train staff. Make specific staff responsible for receiving. Train them to follow food safety procedures, including checking items for correct temperatures, expired code dates, looking for signs of thawing and refreezing, and pest damage. Staff should be able to accept, reject, and sign for deliveries. Also, provide them with the tools they need, including purchase orders, temperature logs, and thermometers. Then make sure that enough trained staff is available to receive and inspect food promptly. Plan ahead for deliveries. Make sure there is enough space in dry storage and walk-in areas for deliveries. This will prevent temperature abuse in the receiving area. Look at each delivery right away to count quantities, check for damaged food, and look for items that might have been repacked or mishandled. Always take sample temperatures of foods. Most cold food should be received at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Hot foods receive at 135 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Any and all items not stored in its original container must be labeled. The label must include the common name of the food or a statement that clearly and accurately identifies it. Prepared and leftover food must be labeled, and the label must indicate when the food must be sold, eaten, or thrown out. Each kitchen should have a chart that lists foods and indicates how long they last for. Refer to this chart when labeling foods. Use the first in first out method when storing foods. Food items must be rotated and stored in a way so the items with the earliest use by or expiration dates are used before those with later dates. When storing and receiving foods, new products should be placed behind older products to ensure that the other products are used first to prevent waste. Food storage. It is pivotal to prevent cross-contamination to store foods correctly in refrigerators. Store foods from the highest required cooking temperature at the bottom to lowest required cooking temperature at the top. It may help to think of fly, walk, swim when knowing the order to store animal proteins. Ready-to-eat foods that require no cooking should always be stored at the top. Let's overview minimal cooking temperatures for various raw foods. Chicken, including ground and whole chicken, must be cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit for a minimum of 1 second. Stuffing or stuffed meat should also be cooked to 165. Ground meats, including ground beef, seafood, and pork, must be cooked to a minimum of 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 17 seconds. Seafood including fish and shellfish as well as steaks or pork chops should be cooked to a minimum temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. Large cuts of roasts of any meat must also be cooked to 145 degrees Fahrenheit for 4 minutes. Foods made from plants, including fruits, vegetables, grains, such as rice and pasta, and legumes, such as baked beans, refried beans, that will be hot held for service must be cooked to a minimum of 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Fully cooked food made from a food vendor such as Michael's of Denver or Fast Fit Foods and reheated for hot holding must reach a temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Never use hot holding equipment to reheat food unless it is built to do so. There are 4 methods you can use when thawing foods. Number 1. The refrigerator. Thaw food in a cooler, keeping its temperature at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. This requires advanced planning. Larger items, such as a turkey, can take several days to thaw completely in a cooler. Number 2. Running water. Submerge food under running, drinkable water at 70 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. The flow of the water must be strong enough to wash loose food bits into the drain. Always use a clean and sanitized food prep sink when thawing food this way. Never let the temperature of the food go above 41 degrees Fahrenheit for 4 hours or longer. Number 3. The microwave. Thaw food in a microwave oven if it will be cooked immediately after thawing. The food must be cooked in conventional cooking equipment, such as an oven once it is thawed. Number 4. You can cook thaw food as part of the cooking process. For example, frozen hamburger patties can go straight from the freezer onto a grill without first being thawed, and frozen chicken can go straight into a deep fryer. These items cook quickly enough from the frozen state to pass through the temperature danger zone without harm. However, always verify the final internal cooking temperature with a thermometer. Foods must be held at the proper temperature. Hold hot food at an internal temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Hold cold food at an internal temperature of 41 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Use a thermometer to check temperatures. Never use the temperature gauge on a holding unit to check the food's temperature. The gauge does not check the internal temperature of the food. Check food temperatures at least every 4 hours, but it is a good rule of thumb to do this more often, such as every hour or every 2 hours. This will leave time for corrective action. If hot food's temperature falls below 135 degrees Fahrenheit for no longer than 2 hours, reheat the food to 165 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds to get back up to temperature. Throw out food that is not being held at the correct temperature for a long period of time. Foods must be cooled properly. You can cool the food from 135 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit in less than 2 hours. You can use the remaining time to cool it to 41 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. However, the total cooling time cannot be longer than 6 hours. For example, if you cool food from 135 degrees Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit in 1 hour, you have the remaining 5 hours to get the food to 41 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 degrees Celsius, or lower. Preventing time temperature abuse. Bacteria grow rapidly between 41 degrees Fahrenheit and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. This range is known as the temperature danger zone. Food is time temperature abused anytime it remains between 41 to 135 degrees. Bacteria grow even more rapidly from 70 degrees Fahrenheit to 125 degrees Fahrenheit. The more time that bacteria spend in the danger zone, the more opportunity they have to grow to unsafe levels. Bacterial growth is limited when food is held above or below the temperature danger zone. Food safety can also be upheld when serving foods. Food handlers should not touch the surfaces that food or beverages come into contact with. Some important concepts include holding dishes by the bottom or edge, not touching opening of glasses, and holding flatware by the handle. Other considerations to have when serving foods include Store flatware so that children can grasp handles, avoid bare hand contact with food that is ready to eat, use ice scoops or tongs to get ice, and never scoop ice with your bare hands or a glass. Serving utensils are also a very important consideration. Use separate utensils for serving each food item. Clean and sanitize them after each serving task. If using utensils continuously, clean and sanitize them at least once every 4 hours. Spoons or scoops used to serve food, such as ice cream or mashed potatoes, can be stored under running water. Food allergies. A food allergen is a protein in a food or ingredient that some people are sensitive to. When enough of an allergen is eaten, an allergic reaction can occur. This can include nausea, shortness of breath, hives, itchy rashes, swelling, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and itchy throat. The 9 most common food allergens are as followed: milk, soy, eggs, wheat, fish, crustacean shellfish, peanuts, tree nuts, sesame. Schools and agencies participating in child nutrition meal programs must comply with requests for special dietary needs and adaptive equipment at no extra charge for children with a documented disability and/or medical need. Medical statement on the CSI website will need to be filled out by a licensed physician, physician assistant, or advanced practice nurse. If this is a life-threatening food allergy resulting in anaphylaxis, ensure the Allergy and Anaphylaxis Action Plan form is completed by school, site nursing staff. Each school must have a method of ensuring that families are aware that the medical statement is available if they need meal modifications due to a disability. This could include but is not limited to putting medical statements in the back-to-school packets, keeping them at the front of the school with other forms families fill out, or sharing them with the school nurse to provide to families. Special dietary preferences are different then from allergies. An example may be following a vegetarian diet. If a student has a dietary preference, it is up to the school if they would like to accommodate that preference. Use the meal modification letter to parent to help notify parents of your school's policy. Cross-contact. Cross-contact occurs when an allergen is transferred over to another food product. Watch this video as peanut allergens are transferred into a jelly jar. Staff can avoid cross-contact by following these guidelines. Check recipes and ingredient labels to confirm that the allergen is not present. Wash, rinse, and sanitize cookware, utensils, and equipment before prepping food. This includes food prep surfaces. Some operations use a separate set of cooking utensils just for allergen special orders. Make sure the allergen does not touch anything for guests with food allergies, including food, beverages, utensils, equipment, and gloves. Wash your hands and change gloves before prepping food. Use separate fryers and cooking oils when frying food for guests with food allergies. Label food packaged on site for retail sale. Name all major allergens on the label and follow any additional labeling requirements. Any surface that touches food must be cleaned and sanitized. Frisk, scrape or remove food bits from the surface. Use the correct cleaning tool, such as a nylon brush or pad or a cloth towel. Second, wash the surface. Prepare the cleaning solution with an approved cleaner. Wash the surface with the correct cleaning tool, such as a cloth towel. Third, rinse the surface using clean water. Rinse the surface with the correct cleaning tool, such as a cloth towel. Fourth, sanitize the surface. Prepare the concentration per manufacturer requirements. Use the correct tool, such as a cloth towel, to sanitize the surface. Make sure the entire surface has come in contact with the sanitizing solution. Fifth, allow the surface to air dry. Norovirus is the leading cause of outbreaks of diarrhea and vomiting in the US. It spreads quickly and is extremely contagious. Norovirus is spread through person-to-person contact when an infected person touches surfaces such as door, toilet and faucet handles. Food and water can also become contaminated quickly and easily. Norovirus particles can even float through the air and then settle on surfaces, spreading contamination. People can transfer norovirus to others for at least 3 days after being sick. Norovirus can survive on surfaces for 2 weeks. Cleaning and decontaminating surfaces is critical to remove and destroy the virus. Let's talk about the steps in properly and effectively cleaning up after a norovirus incident, such as vomit in the school cafeteria. Remove vomit or diarrhea right away. Lock off and clear individuals from the exposed area. Isolate the contaminated area for 2 hours, as norovirus particles can remain in the air for 2 hours after an incident. The rule of thumb is that the isolated area should be a 10-foot radius of the incident. All food will have to be thrown away that is in this area. It's important for schools to have backup food and meals that are ready to serve in case of this occurrence. Make sure you are wearing protective clothing, such as disposable gloves, apron and mask. Wipe up the vomit or diarrhea with paper towels. Use kitty litter, baking soda, or other absorbent material on carpets and upholstery to absorb liquid. Do not vacuum material. Pick up using paper towels. Dispose of paper towel and waste in a plastic trash bag or biohazard bag. Use soapy water to wash surfaces that contacted vomit or diarrhea and all areas that are nearby. Next, rinse thoroughly with plain water. Wipe dry with paper towels. Don't stop here. Germs can remain on surfaces even after cleaning. Next, disinfect surfaces by applying a chlorine bleach solution or other registered antimicrobial products that are effective against norovirus. You can find these at restaurant supply stores. Product label must specify it is effective against norovirus, available online. The norovirus can be airborne, which means it can spread through the air. Decontamination could include multiple surfaces and areas. Air dry for a minimum of 5 minutes. Remove personal protective equipment and dispose of in a plastic trash bag. Remove and wash all clothing or fabric that may have touched vomit or diarrhea. Anything that has been in contact with vomit and diarrhea should be discarded or disinfected. Machine wash these items with detergent, hot water, and bleach if recommended, and choose the longest wash cycle. Wash your hands after cleaning using proper hand washing procedure. This is a critical step in preventing the spread of the norovirus. Hand sanitizer is not always effective at killing the virus. Encourage children and staff to wash hands during a norovirus outbreak.